So there is an absolutely massive project that was just revealed actually by Sony last week. This was at the Game Developers Conference. I don't really know much about this, but surprise, it is a conference for game developers. But essentially this project by Sony, it's regarding 30 plus years of PlayStation data that is being preserved, and it seems like nobody's really talking about this. I mean, this is actually like a very, very big deal. When I say this is a massive project, I'm not over-exaggerating. Okay, obviously, like gigabytes of data is a lot for game preservation, especially when you are considering games made 30 years ago. Well, I am not talking gigabytes of data. I'm not even talking about a terabyte of data or 100 terabytes of data. I am talking about allegedly 650 terabytes of data. I say allegedly because that is according to a website called GameFile. The article that I'm going to refer to is from Games Radar. They did not confirm that, but essentially we just kind of have to go off of what different developers and different journalists were saying regarding this announcement, because obviously, as I stated, this was not a public event. This was just for game developers and insiders. So there was a senior build engineer named Garrett Fredley that took the mic, and well, he just kind of low-key just made this massive announcement as if it's no big deal, but it's a very big deal. So he said PlayStation Studios Vault is our solution for bringing all of PlayStation's rich 30-year history together in one place. So the name of it is going to be PlayStation Studios Vault, kind of a cool name. And he said it's not just backups, it's not just source code and source art, but everything that was ever related to a project that we can possibly find, from documentation to audio assets and prototype information, anything under the sun. Yeah, this ain't just like beta builds of games that we've never seen. I mean, this is like, all behind the scenes type work. He says all 30 years of history reside in our tape backups, and he says, and yes, for anyone in the room who knows anything about tape backups, you probably just shivered. We still use them. Unfortunately, they will never go away. Now, I had to look up like what tape backups actually are. Maybe some of you do know it. I googled it, and this was one of the first images that came up. Kind of looks like a floppy disk, or I don't know, a fat floppy disk. That's a great name for a band, by the way, Fat Floppy Disk. If anyone wants to use that, go ahead. But yeah, I mean, essentially, this is all offline material. Obviously, they are not storing this in the cloud or anything like that, which I think is obviously very smart. That's how you invite maybe, I don't know, hackers, people who are interested in nefarious acts to try to breach your system. So I think this is very smart. But if you do think that's weird, I mean, I promise you it actually gets weirder when you look at where they are actually storing these fat floppy disks. It ain't just at Sony headquarters. He says that they, quote, they go into a mine shaft somewhere. Yes, I said mine shaft, and he literally goes on to say that's not a joke. They go into a mine shaft somewhere, so you can imagine how long it takes to get them back. There are like so many scenes from movies that come up in my mind when I'm picturing this. I don't know, maybe like scenes from like, I don't know, an Indiana Jones movie or a James Bond or something. I don't know, like a mine shaft of files worth of 650 terabytes of files, I should say. That is extremely interesting. Now, as far as the physical location, it is not just one mine shaft, but two. Yeah, he says there's one in Las Vegas and one in Liverpool. This picture was provided by GameFile. Allegedly, this is an actual slide that was provided by him during this presentation. And what even gets weirder is he talks about how like PlayStation executives and like the CEO, like none of those top dogs have access to these mine shafts. He says that the only people at PlayStation that have access to this material are the IP preservation team and a few members of IT who help us manage the infrastructure. So if a dev needs access to the material, they get it through the preservation team. So the CEO of Sony or PlayStation cannot access this. I absolutely love how weird this is. It reminds me of like conspiracy theories with like what people refer to in the government as like the deep state or like the shadow government. I mean, people that are above the president or the prime minister in the government. It's like the shadow government of PlayStation. I don't know. I think it's cool. And yes, it does go back over 30 years. He says that the oldest material they have in the vault is something in regarding to a game called Ark the Lad. This is an old build of the game from 1994. In total, he said that there are about 200 files, and it is growing as we speak. Essentially, it really sounds like pretty much any PlayStation developer, especially those who have material that span back 30 years. They're very much encouraged by Sony to submit this material to the vault. I don't know know how they do it. I mean, it all sounds secretive. I don't know if they go through like carrier pigeon or something. But essentially, it's one of those things where material goes in and it doesn't really come out unless it's something that is really needed. So that was the other part of this that I should mention. He did apparently say that, unfortunately, this isn't something that once copyright or anything like that expires, they're just going to make public. They are keeping this in the vaults for PlayStation and PlayStation only to bring out when they need it. I don't really know what would be a reason for them to need it. I'm sure it could be a lot of different reasons. I'm sure this will be used for like remakes, remasters, stuff like that. Maybe for other stuff too, who knows. I do wish it was public knowledge, but it is what it is. It is Sony's material. I do think just the whole thing is very cool though. I don't think that this data is ever going to be made public, even if hackers have anything to say about it, because all of this is locked up in a quite literal mine shaft. And actually, I said that wrong. 2 mine shafts. Nothing in the cloud. It's all just top secret. So I think it's pretty cool that PlayStation has this.